Hey Magic Camp, I can't make it to training because I'm at school, which is about 650 miles away. So I figured I'd make you a video, and hopefully it'll be fun. Yeah. Woo! Today, you've probably been talking about inclusion! So you've probably talked about how to include people in the camp and how to make things awesome for everyone. And that's awesome, but I'm not going to talk to you about that at all, because you've already heard about it. But I am going to talk to you about something very different. I'm going to talk to you about my life here in Memphis, because that's what I'm doing right now. Living in Memphis, that is. As you may or may not know, I'm here in Memphis because I'm going to art school right now. That's right, I get to spend 4 years learning to make pretty paintings and a lot of more painful stuff. So, I'm going to do what I can to explain a little bit about my favorite parts of art, which is the really crazy, really weird stuff that most people say, "That's not art!" A lot of times, when people look at modern art, you see them make reactions like, "I don't get it. I don't know what they're trying to say. I think my 4-year-old could do that." Well, the reason that this happens is that they don't really have a lot of the information that lets them in on it and includes them in the history of modern art. So I'm going to give you a brief history lesson about modern art and include you in it and let you know a bunch of cool things that make it a lot cooler. So you're currently looking at one of my very favorite pieces of art. To some of you, this may seem bland. To some of you, this may not be art. Yet. What you just saw is a piece of work by Zoe Sheehan Saldana, one of my favorite artists. It's really cool, but to understand it, you need a little bit of history. So I'm going to take you back a really long way. In fact, all the way back to ancient Greece, where there were two artists, one named Zeuxis, the other named Parrhasius. Zeuxis and Parrhasius were both really amazing and both thought they were the best, so they decided they had to have a contest, because neither was content with just being second best or co-best. So they decided they would have the king judge the contest, because who could possibly be a better judge of art than the king? I mean, he's the king. So, they both brought their paintings that they had worked for long, long hours on to the king, wrapped up in a sheet. And the king first turned to Zeuxis and said, "Remove the sheet from your painting." And Zeuxis pulled the sheet off, and there was a really amazing painting. And it was a painting of a cup of grapes sitting on a table. But it looked so real that in fact 2 birds just swooped down out of the sky and tried to peck the grapes off the painting. But of course, they kind of failed and just hit the canvas and fell to the ground. And then the king announced, "Wow, that's quite amazing. You fooled nature. I don't know how that can be beaten." And he, at this point, the king truly believed that Zeuxis had won. But he wanted to be fair, so he turned to Parrhasius and said, "Parrhasius, remove the sheet from your painting." And Parrhasius turned and said, "You see, the thing is, there is no sheet on my painting. I just painted a sheet. So not only have I fooled nature, I've fooled the king." Now, this is one of those fairy tales that artists love because it's pretty darn cool, and I mean, who gets the chance to be the king? But it's been the basis for a lot of art over the years. People have tried to make things that were really, really real looking. And eventually people got bored of that and started to make stuff that was a little less real but maybe felt more real. So this is a painting by Jackson Pollock. At the time, it was considered to be really the coolest thing in the art world and a lot of pictures that had images that people could understand weren't really as popular or even liked. As cool as that is, as you can guess, it kind of probably got boring pretty fast. And that's why there are really awesome people like Jasper Johns. He made images like this that kind of poked fun at abstract expressionism by pointing out silly things like the colors in this case. Then one day, he was hanging out with one of his friends, and his friend cracked a joke that, hey, I bet you could sell a beer can if you painted it. So he did just that. He made 2 metal beer cans and painted them and sold them directly to the Museum of Modern Art for a lot of money. Then a few years later, along comes a guy named Andy Warhol, and he saw this stuff and thought it was cool because he was really obsessed with all the stuff that everyone likes to buy and sell and all that. He was really obsessed with it. Really, really obsessed. He was actually so freakish and obsessive that when he tried to hang out with Jasper Johns was like, whoa, dude, get away, you're creeping me out. Being quite possibly one of the biggest lunatics and biggest geniuses in art history, Andy Warhol saw what Jasper Johns was doing with the Ballantine ale cans and said, I'm gonna do this even crazier! These are Andy Warhol's Brillo boxes. If you haven't already guessed, they're named after the Brillo pads that you use to clean stuff. These boxes are the exact shape of the normal boxes that Brillo comes in, except these are made of plywood and screen-printed logos on them rather than industrial printed on cardboard. But he put them in the gallery as if they were the exact same thing, even like it was in a storeroom stacked up. Art historians went bananas. 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 After about 30 years, a bunch of art, and a bunch of essays on Brillo boxes, we come to Zoe Sheehan Saldana, who makes really epic artwork. What she happens to do is she goes to this place you call the Walmart, and she buys clothes. This seems like super good art already, doesn't it? Clothes from Walmart. But she buys clothes from Walmart, and then she goes home, and she goes to the fabric store, and she finds a fabric that matches pretty closely to what she bought at Walmart. She takes it home, and she sews an exact copy of what she bought at Walmart. Then she takes some scissors, cuts the tags off the one from Walmart, sews them carefully onto her homemade clothing, and then sneaks back into Walmart with her homemade clothing and puts it up on the shelf. So she doesn't really make much money off this, as she's not really getting the money from when Walmart sells it again. In fact, Walmart makes money off of it. However, some random person is buying completely handmade, really awesome clothing, and they don't even know about it yet. That's why Zoe Sheehan Saldana is super cool. Now, the one on the left is made by Walmart, and the one on the right is made by Zoe Sheehan Saldana. It's pretty hard to tell. But the really cool thing about this is that anyone who buys this is wearing it and being a piece of her artwork without even necessarily realizing it. To them, it's made by Walmart, and that's their reality. So in a way, she's kind of created reality, which is a pretty magical thing to me. So hopefully this brief little history lesson has included you in a little more of modern art, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy it a little more. And I'd like to leave you with a quote, which I saw in a video from a really cool piano player. And this video, I find it interesting because it really, really applies to camp, and I want you to keep it in your minds throughout the summer, whether or not you're working at my camp, which is, who am I that my audience's eyes are not shining? Who is it that I am being? Perfect, perfect quote to keep in mind when thinking about the kids' experience at camp. And with that, I'm about to leave, but before I do, I'm going to ask you if you have questions about art history or about camp or about quotes or really anything, or just want to talk to me about stuff, please email me. I get bored over here, so I'm going to put up my email. Okay, bye!